I consider myself the most unlucky man in the world. But if any of you have ever heard getting shot on by a bird is meant to be good luck, which is someone who's the ultimate optimist being like, oh yeah, that's a lucky charm. But Ferdia was flicking a chewing gum up into the air to catch it in the mouth, and somehow the bird shot in his mouth. I was a human guinea pig for quite a long time because I didn't really enjoy working, so I was teaching fitness classes, and I was freelance because you got paid quite a lot for just doing an hour's work or whatever. And working in a gym was pleasant, but I'm not a morning person, and gyms are at like 7 o'clock in the morning that you need to be in the actual gym on the weekend. It was just like, I didn't want to do that. So I was always just teaching fitness classes, freelance, loads of free time. And so I was doing human guinea pig stuff. And I didn't do a lot of these. Over the course of 5 years, I probably did maybe 4. For various different sorts of research facilities where they just go in, pay you loads of money to basically like, here's a new paracetamol tablet. This is literally one of the tests that I did. Here's a new paracetamol tablet. We'll see if it gives you a little bit of a fever, calms you down, and then that's it. Here's $5,000, off to Peru you go. And so one of the times that I was doing that, they have to do a pre-scan to make sure that you are fit to actually go in there. And so they had to scan the brain. They did an MRI scan, so they put me in, and then when they came out, they were like, you actually have a benign tumor. And my first reaction wasn't like, oh my God, my life is over. It was, can I still do this trial? Because I want the money. They're like, no, you need to like go in and get this checked a second time where we focus on it more. And I was like, oh right, fair enough. 3 months later, get the brain scan. There's a golf ball in my head that's the wrong color. COVID broke things down a little bit. And then when I got my scan, it was about a half year later, and they were like, no, this is not benign. This is growing aggressively. You need to get surgery. You need to get it as soon as possible, which in NHS terms is like a month and a half. And you need to get it as soon as possible. Very likely it's cancerous. You're going to have to go on chemotherapy. Well, not have to, but if you read books, you'll probably end up going on chemotherapy and radiotherapy. Because it was during COVID, my biggest issue was not how to sort of deal with myself and my problems. It was more like, oh, fucking hell, how do I tell my parents about this? Because they can't visit me, and I don't want them to be calling me all the time and annoying me. I was quite glad that it was through COVID because I didn't want them to visit me. They're incredibly annoying. And same sort of thing with my friends, where I was sort of like, I didn't tell them about the first scan about me having a benign tumor, and I was there thinking like, do I want to tell them about this now? Because despite what you may think, I didn't actually want anyone knowing about the cancer situation. I might not be able to actually tell them about my situation after the surgery, so I have to tell them now. And I did, and my friends were fine, my family were exactly like I expected them to be, extremely irritating, kept asking the same question over and over and over when I wanted to not think about like, you're going in for surgery, it might destroy your entire life. It's like, yeah, I don't really want to talk about that. I kind of want to like go on the piss with my friends and like, live life as a normal person as much as possible up to that point, and then just sweep into it as easy as I can. So then we had the surgery. When you are doing brain surgery, if anyone has ever seen clips of someone who's like playing a violin or doing some sort of a task while in brain surgery, that is not to them to show off sort of the skills of the brain surgery or anything like that. They actually do that to make sure that the brain is still operating as they're literally scooping stuff out of it. Basically what you do is you're told like, what's the animal that goes meow? The one on the left, the one on the right. Which animal is on the right, which animal is on the left, that sort of thing. And all they would look out for, it would just be a pause between me saying cat versus cat. And that noise meant, okay, this is functional brain tissue, so they didn't get rid of that. Went through that surgery and it went through okay. It was unpleasant. It wasn't sort of like, you didn't feel a cut or anything like that because they numb your head. But my God, it's the worst headache you've ever gone through in your life. But afterwards, my speech came back very, very quickly. I had loss of speech. However, it was very weird because it came in waves. So as an example, at one point, one of the nurses came in and they were just doing their checkup with me. So it was just sort of like who are you, where are you, who, what, where, how, why. It was just that sort of basic question. She walked into the hospital ward while I was on my laptop playing video games. And so anyone who's a gamer in here will know the video games take quite a bit of brain power. So she comes in and she's like, yep, we're doing a neurological test now. So I was like, yeah, sure, fire away. Close the laptop down. And she goes, where are you? And I just stood there like, where am I? And this hospital, by the way, was walking distance from my house at the time. And it was not a complicated name. It was St. George's Hospital. I live in London. And so I was here and I had to, going back to articulate, work out a way to try and describe to her where I was by going, it sounds like a hostel, but it's for the sick people. And then she kind of waited a while and eventually was like, a hospital? And I was like, yeah, that one. And then I can't remember how I got around to, I think I was like, oh yeah, he's the guy on the England, he's the Saint of England, that guy, St. George, yeah, that guy. So like the brain 100% like operating, but almost like you just can't get through some sort of a border. So because COVID was happening, I had started up a YouTube channel just because, as you can tell, I'm a big gamer and I was trying to find a way to make this not a complete waste of time. So I started up my own channel. I had already thought of, you can't really see it too much, but you can probably see a thinning of my hair there. And so because my camera was on this side, I said to myself, right, you're gonna have to address, there's gonna be a big elephant in the room, you're gonna have a giant scar on this side of your head. The previous viewers were like, do you mind telling us about what's going on with that? So I was saying to myself, all right, well, I'll just get ahead of the curve on that and I'll just do charitable stuff for cancer every so often. And that's where the headshots for head cancer is actually a thing, where the idea was every time I shoot someone in the head in the video game, it's like, ha, now you must donate £1, one whatever to cancer research. So it made it fun, trying to put the fun into fundraising. So after they got the brain tumor out, they did some tests on it and they're like, yep, okay, this is cancerous, stage 3. There's 4 stages of cancer. So stage 3, not particularly good news, not the worst kind, but I wasn't exactly running out and being like, where's the Prosecco? Woohoo! We're gonna live for ages. It's not like Breaking Bad. They don't say like, you got 1 year to live. They don't do that. That's Hollywood. What they do is when you start asking how long do I have, they will look through research and they'll get you the average. It's about 5 to 6 years. Now, first of all, that means that some people die super early, some people last ages. So the average comes into the middle, but that doesn't mean that most people actually get to that point. Now the other thing that sort of made it a lot easier for myself, one, even though they're not actually related, my speech had already come back. That data is based on people who come into hospital for brain tumors that have no symptoms. The people who do that are twice my age. The people who are retiring and are going, all right, well, I better go just get a general health check because I'm of that age where I could have something sneaking around my body. I was there thinking, all right, half the age, so that means that the stats probably are very favorable towards me. And one other thing with the way the brain grows is it's something called plasticity. And that means that the younger you are and the more damage gets done to the brain, the quicker it will heal as compared to someone who is aged. I then started thinking, all right, well, seeing as how this is fairly serious, stage 3, let's up the ante. And I think the next day I started Googling what's the world record for charity fundraising. Marathons are basically just like charitable ways to earn money anyway, with the exception of like Kipchoge, who's actually running it for speed. So that was the first thing I went to. I've done one of them before. It works with charity, and the world record for fastest marathon dressed as a video game character, which you'd be very pleased as I've seen his mural on the way up, is Solid Snake, and that is 2 hours 57 minutes on the dot. And then the money still is 2.3 million and then some change British pounds. So my idea was, which I got from PewDiePie, was just because, and Mr. Beast as well, they give loads of money out to charity. and just do charitable things. They just sort of like, here's your Ferrari, off you go. And so my idea was, okay, they get their money from where? Big videos and from sponsorship. So why don't I just make the aim to get that? So I'm asking people to follow and they don't even need to donate. I thought that it would kick off a lot sooner than that, because it's basically like health insurance thing, is how it's the stats for people getting cancer at some point in their life is through the roof. It's 1 in 3 women and 1 in 2 men will get it. Everyone is affected by it in some regard. I'm so glad that I have this purpose, this drive. Very few people actually get that at any point in their life, really. I went to 4 universities before I found what I actually want, and that was with sports science. And then even though I was doing what I want, as I told you earlier on, I didn't like working in gyms just because of the timeline. I was twiddling my feet thinking, what am I going to do with my life? This sounds very weird, but cancer was the best thing that has happened to me since, because I have nothing but free time, and at the same time I have absolutely no free time. At any point I could just say, I don't want to do this, and nothing would happen to me in terms of like, there wouldn't be someone being like, you're fired. I could just continue doing exactly what I want, but this is what I want to do, because it actually means something, and it's hard and it's difficult, and it's amazing. And it gave me a focus. And so once I've sort of gone around, I knew exactly what I wanted to do was to get all these sponsors. And something that has come up recently is, does anyone know of the app Strava? Yeah, so it's like an activity challenge thing, mostly known for running. They asked me if they would get this thing going because I am cycling across the United States of America. Strava, they wanted me to do this challenge to be their representative, where you're asking people to just be active for 340 minutes to represent 3,400 miles. And that goes all the way up until St. Patrick's Day, and then it stops, and other sponsors will kind of step in to try and help raise money for cancer research. One was to like download the Strava app and just get out and just be active in any way that you want to. The other thing that I was here for is, if you want, I'm doing a pool to try and get people to do sponsored tattoos. If you guys want to try and find a way within your classes or within the whole school to pool in together and donate $1,000, you can get whatever you want. Anyone have a rude question, just shout it out, you know.
It's like, you said you find them like really annoying when it comes to that thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, don't, like, honestly, it gets worse with age, so you come back and they will still treat you like you are this age.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, I'll give you a simple example. So yesterday when I was coming home from the Curragh, which is where the army training camp is. By the way, not that I have anything, well, I do have something against self-harm, but not that you should be ashamed of it, but that isn't self-harm. That is, well, I suppose it's open to interpretation. That is from doing the army fitness test, which I was doing yesterday. My dad was sound enough, like, they're not bad parents, they're just really annoying. He dropped me down at the Curragh. And on the way back, we were talking about why I was swearing so much, because something that I had ended with was with the group of the cadets was getting everybody to say like, hey lads, so what I usually do is I say, what do we think of cancer? And then whoever the group is with me goes, yeah, fuck cancer. And then afterwards, my dad was giving me a big talk. Why are you always swearing in your live streams? You're making it more inaccessible to all these different people. And I'm here thinking like, you are telling the person who's clearly successful at this social media stuff, and you're like a dinosaur to what this is, and yet you're still telling me like that I should not swear. And he doubled down on that, and he kept going with it. And then I said, okay, well, seeing as how you like Billy Connolly, are you not being a bit of a hypocrite and whatnot? And I asked him, what do you think would be the equivalent to what I should say instead of like, you know, piss off cancer? And he came to his final answer was, oh, why don't you just say go away cancer? Okay. And that was a difficult drive home to resist, just like rolling down the window and like climbing out and just rolling on the ground. So yeah, that's the sort of level of annoyance that goes through in the house.
Do you think your like guinea pig thing affected your brain when you gave cancer?
No, not really. Because other people within that group would have come out, and I contacted them and was like, hey, are you really ill as well? Someone else down here, was it?
Do you think you'd ever get on the Joe Rogan podcast or anything like that?
Hoping for it, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to. Yeah, no, try. Yeah, it's like he's a notoriously difficult person to actually get through to because, as you imagine, everyone's always trying to get on that thing. He's even mentioned it before, where there was that idiot who was like, I'm not on steroids. Who was that guy? The Liver King. Oh God. Yeah. I'm glad I'm with the same audience like this. Yeah, apparently he's been trying to get on for ages. So yeah, fingers crossed. Anyway, we do that because not passing through where he lives. I think he lives in Houston at the moment. But we are passing through northern Texas. So yeah, hopefully we get on that. Anything else? Yep.
Does any your relationships change with how people react to you or kind of treat you after not to?
No, and I'm delighted with that. One of the first things that this is sort of the big difference between my friends and my family. Not really too much, but the sense of humor. In a way, like going back to the annoyance of my parents thing, I wish they did. I wish they just give me a bit of a break with sort of like, why like you have to set up the. Oh, sorry, I need to go. Sorry, what was the question again? Friends and family. No, one of my friends, Billy, he actually said to me, do they happen to know how long you've had the tumor for? Because it would certainly explain a lot about your previous behaviour. So that's what my friends are like.
So is your body basically like a public bathroom now?
How do you mean? People piss all over?
Like graffiti and stuff?
Oh, okay. Yeah, people urinate on me all the time. I'm in a weird shit. No, public bathrooms you don't have to pay for. I'm more like a private bathroom. Yep. At the start, yes. Afterwards, no. But then again, that's to do with cancer. So, cancer probably brought things down, but then I'm successful and semi-famous, so that sort of balanced it out. So, back to normal. Yep.
Has any of your chemotherapy shown results?
Yes, the last time that I got a scan relative to the first time, the mix between chemotherapy and radiotherapy, the tumour is now slightly shrunk. So that's good news. However, it's a tricky one to do with the chemotherapy and the radiotherapy because it is poison. And the way I kind of saw it was, right, that's a win. It's definitely the right choice to make now. But hindsight being 2020, I'm now thinking, I've heard about all these other ways that you can sort of holistically and sensibly sort of push back cancer. I wish I had taken them on from the start. I wish I had just sort of massively corrected my diet and all the sort of other thing. But that's after like I've come to this side of my treatment and I'm in a better state. Would I get to this place had I not done chemotherapy and radiotherapy? I don't know. Next question.
How come you didn't go down the Walter White route of cancer?
How do you know I didn't?
Where'd the name The King of Chemo come from?
That is actually a good story. So one of my dear friends, Ian Mahal, we were on an after year going away party, and we went to Crete. And Ian Mahal is one of the most odd characters you'd ever come across in your life, because if he was telling you a story about something, very soon if you're hanging around him enough, you'd know this could be 100% true, or this could be him telling a tale and he's not letting the truth get in the way. And as an example, he'd be like telling you that he works as a paramedic for like the sheikh of Saudi Arabia, and you're like, yeah, sure, yeah, and then it turns out that he is. I was like, all right, yeah, so taking this pinch of salt. And one day he comes back from like a night out where he's been missing for I think 3 days or something, and he comes back and he has these blisters all over his shoulders from like these terrible like sunburns. And he comes in and then, like, in his own sort of form and state, We're like, where are you, Badger? I was like, sure, I was just up in the hills. And he's from Dublin, he's down the road, like he's from, what was it, Seafield Avenue? I'm giving away a bit too much here.
He looks like a potato.
Yeah. He sounds like a countryman for some reason. He just thought of a Dublin. I was like, sure, they're calling me the King of Crete. And we just laughed our heads off at that for so long. We kind of kept, like, within my own group of friends, we kept that going where it was like, who's they? Who's the they in this situation? It's like, they're calling me the King of Crete. And so whenever we did anything, it would just be like, they're calling me the King of, like, bluffing. They're calling me the King of whatever. And then I think one of my mates just suggested, there you go, they're calling me the King of Chemo. And I was just sort of like, it's got a bit of a nice ring to it. So yeah, that's how I got the username. Also, very stupidly, that wasn't my only username. I think that was my username for YouTube, and then I had like a different username for. Oh no, it was my username for TikTok, and then I had a different username for YouTube and a different username for Instagram. And I only realized how stupid this was when I did my first podcast, and someone was like, "So, where can people find you on social media?" And I was like, oh, bollocks. I thought I was being a creative and being like, yeah, fucking, I'm the man who, like, who's got cancer, not cancer, and all this. And I had these other little sort of puns, and then I was like, no, you keep things uniform. Everything is the exact same. And even if you do that, ITV can still leave out the in your title and mess things up when you go on the Good Morning show. But anyway, next question.
What's your go-to drink on a night out?
Guinness.
How do you think like the social aspect of people pitying you because of a health thing, how does that kind of affect you socially with relationships?
Can't stand it. Can't stand it at all. The odd time, it's kind of cool because I'm famous in Ireland and I'm not in London, and I really like that because I don't particularly like fame. Like it's not. It's useful in some situations, but like most of people's happiness comes from your friends and family. So like it adds some benefits. Like it's nice getting free stuff where you kind of like and you can kind of get invited to some events that are quite cool. But overall, like it's not a particularly cool thing. It's nice to be able to meet some other celebrities because then you quickly realize that they're just normal people as well that you can just sort of bond with. Is just sort of like David Goggins would be a perfect example. I haven't met him, but he's actually responded to me on Instagram. So hopefully when we're doing the America trip, we can get in touch with him. Even though I'd be terrified to meet him because it'd be like, yeah, I'm cycling across America. It's like, did you do it in one go? Like, no. But I've got cancer. It's like, that's an excuse. Get on your bike right now. Stay hard, motherfucker. So gotta mix it up a little bit. Some people still sort of like they want to start telling their heartfelt stories. And I'm fine with that when it's like sent to me in a direct message or like if it's at a talk like this because it's sort of it goes with the parcel. But if I'm out like having a couple of pints with my friends and someone else comes over and they start wanting to talk to me about like how their mother died young or whatever, it's like on the one hand I want to be respectful about it because obviously they're opening up. On the other hand, it's like I don't want to fucking talk about this sort of shit. I'm here trying to have fun. I don't want to be reminded of like my terminal existence and all that sort of thing. But I have actually mastered the way to get over that, where it's just like start taking the piss out of them and start to be like no shh like that. And usually people start like quickly realizing yeah, fair enough, this is not really the place to talk to that. And 99.999% of the time that does just end it right there. Yep.
What do you think of MRI scans like getting
yeah. Good. Saved my life.
How do you find them?
Pardon?
How do you find them?
Well, like, yeah. If you were to just try and get an MRI scan, you'd like pay through your nose to do it yourself, or you'd have to have very serious reasons to do so. While you go into the room, they have to have air conditioning on because the machine itself heats up so much because of all the amount of power that's going through it. And it's a gigantic magnet that the whole thing. I don't know quite how it works, but it like sounds like a train when you're going in. There's like a loud sort of chucking noise. You can sort of almost feel through the atmosphere rather than the actual the feeling of a wobble, but you can sort of feel there's something gigantic going around. So it's like space travel.
How did you find your confidence to talk about your cancer and illness?
Great question.
Got lucky. I wish, like, I get asked this a lot on podcasts where it's like, you know, so how do you like teach charisma? It's like, I don't know. They'll tell you. I never shut up in class. So like, I don't know. Yeah, I just sort of went with the territory. I never really had too many problems talking to. I suppose it was like my job's involved a lot of conversation. I used to be a pub crawl guy.
What was it like going on this morning talk show?
Which one?
The this morning with
In the UK.
Holly and Phil.
Oh yeah, everyone is always like, you know, are they nasty pieces of shit in life? It's like they seem fine to me. They're absolutely fine. Very very nice to get along with. I was really annoyed with the production crew though, because I was like, yeah, just make sure you get one thing right, which is my username, and they got that wrong. I was like, yeah.
What was the Miss Doyle story?
Miss Ward, who is now Miss Doyle, I believe. So I was taught French by her in up until like I think 3rd year, maybe 2nd year, and then because at that point in my life I was sort of used my I have dyslexia card to be like, yes, I don't have to do French or Irish anymore. Brilliant. And then I think it was in 5th year, maybe 4th year. So 2 years, 1 year in the difference between when I was last doing a French class. I ended up just sitting in the back of her room because it was like my teacher didn't come in that day, so it was like, oh, we have to just put the students somewhere, and I was in the back of her class. And she was, by coincidence, teaching French at the time. And questions were being asked, nothing was said, and then so even though I was there like doing something else, probably just drawing willies on a blank piece of paper, I decided I'll answer. I know the question to that, so it's like, you know, yeah, je veux or whatever, and it's like, yes, correct. And then class goes on, same thing happens again. No one answers the question, and then it's like, allez le bleu, and it's like, yes, well done, Ian. And then one of your students turns around and says, Jesus, Ian, you're pretty good at French. Do you still like learn French? And then I started on my spiel of like, well, no, I have dyslexia and therefore I was taken out of the thing and yada yada yada. And then she cut me off in the middle of the sentence. It was like, no, you quit French because you're lazy. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, because it was absolutely 100% accurate. And Ferdy and myself both agree where it's like we did not focus on the languages so much while we're in school, and because they are hard, but trust me, they are the best things that you can learn when you're going out into the world. They're not necessary for life, but there is a deep sense of satisfaction when you're in a foreign country and you can speak the native language to whoever you're speaking to. And afterwards, we couldn't learn Spanish at the time, but me and Ferdy had both, like, you speak not fluent, but able to have a conversation, and I speak enough what's called survivable Spanish. So if I was in Spain, I could, like, you know, sort of get by if no one else could talk. Anyway,
Get another group in.
I was thinking that question would be asked, and I honestly can't answer because it was all down to like different situations. Miss Doak was brilliant when we were doing our play. That was a lot of fun. I don't think you ever taught me anything. Well, outside, outside of life.
No, it's just insane.
Yeah, so it's like even without sort of subject matter, it's like I couldn't pick one out. Joe.
Was it a relief when you kind of found out like running and the world record? Did that kind of like focus you? Did it kind of more? Was it more a relief to just have one thing and you could just work towards?
Oh yeah, definitely. It just like it opened up so many other doors for a million other things, and like I constantly have. I think the thing that I'm most kind of happy with is the fact that I was always very creative, but like I never had a proper avenue to express it. And now it's like, it's, you know, social media, so it's like there's absolutely no limiting factor whatsoever. If I come up with a good idea, I got sponsored by a company called Brewdog. It's not as popular in Ireland as it is back in the UK, but I got sponsored by them because I had their cans and I collected loads of them, and not from drinking, of course, and then sellotape them together, making a big hexagonal circle. And I made a few of them, and then had a pole that I wrapped the cans around as well, and made it into like a big deadlift machine that I was like, yeah, wow, like this. And then I was like, here's me doing wacky stuff with, like, you know, stuff that I collected. Sponsor me, and it worked. So yeah, just like creative ability to do whatever I want all the time. Gift.
What video game character
Excellent question. I reckon you'll like the answer to this, seeing as how I walked through the path on the way up here. Solid Snake is probably the likely choice, seeing as how I have similar hair to him, and also because he dresses like a soldier, so that's practical in doing a marathon. But maybe Kratos. Yep.
Were there any teachers here that you recognized from when you went to school here?
All of them, yeah. Yeah, all the ones that were here, yeah, completely recognised. Very few of them actually look different. It's the same with when we had a school reunion. It was just like, you look the same, you look the same, you look the same. Anyway, someone over here?
Did you end up going to Peru, or are you trying to do it this year?
No, I already have been to Peru, so I just use that as an example. I would highly recommend Peru. It's about 17 countries cramped into one. It's amazing. You can be in a desert, you can be in the mountains, you can be in the beaches. I've never experienced anything like it. Yep.
How old are you?
33. Yep.
How long do you spend in the gym? Do you look like you're a bit buff?
Honestly, I don't spend that much time in the gym at all anymore. I think I just built a big frame and then that was it. So like after Mount Temple, I did some rugby training, but we all had to go to Clontarf rugby club, and it wasn't as fun just because everyone was taking it too seriously. And I was like, I'm not a particularly good rugby player at all. I just did it for the crack. And so after that, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore, but I still lifted a few weights. But then I started doing running training, and just for the sake of it, didn't really have any sort of goal until one of my friends was like, "Oh, how quick did you run around the the coastline?" And whatever time I gave them, they were like, "That's a good time, Ian. You should like push that a bit more." And so I got into running for a while. But then after I did the London Marathon, I was just kind of like, all right, I'm bored of this, and went back to just doing strength training for quite a few years. And I don't know if any of you guys would know, but your muscles act in two different ways. They can grow together at the same time, but most of the time they're more kind of fighting for territory. And they're called type 1 muscles and type 2. And fast twitch, slow twitch. Slow twitch are really small and tight, and they work better for longevity, for endurance. They're the marathon runners. That's why marathon runners often look a lot smaller. Whereas fast twitch muscles are more for power, more for strength, more for sprinting. And I was more into lifting weights just because it was so easy to be like, I lifted 100 today, tomorrow I lifted 105. So it's like, there you go, perfect. Like you just know you were improving, so I stuck to it way more. And now I'm finding it, my marathon times compared to where I left school are so much slower because I have all this extra weight that I don't actually want. Like, it's nice to look at, but like it doesn't help me go faster, and that's the more important thing. So yeah, there's that.
Okay, guys, it's.
There's one more.
What's your TikTok username?
TheKingOfChemo.
What was the name of that YouTuber you said a second ago? You said, oh yeah, how is he still out here? He's like a robot.
David Goggins.
David what?
David Goggins. Goggins. Yeah, he was famous for writing a book where it's like can't hurt me. He's a former Navy SEAL. Yep. The last, see, I don't do heavy squats anymore because I have a meniscus damage, and also so when you are running distance, that is your body working the muscles that are called slow twitch muscles, and when you're lifting heavy weights, that is where you get into what's called fast twitch muscles. And they can kind of go within the same sort of area of the muscle tissue, but generally if you're training one, it kind of pushes the other one down. So I stopped doing heavy squats. I know my legs don't look the same way, but I just can't get them to shrink, even though it would be much easier to run on lighter legs. But I think, does anyone ever heard of the 1,000 Pound Club? It's pretty niche. So it's a powerlifting thing where it's like a bench press, a deadlift, and a squat. If you add them together, they get to 1,000 pounds. into that. And so that was a goal for a year. And so the heaviest squat I think was 160 kilos. But now I wouldn't know now, and I wouldn't try now because I do a lot of squats, but it's like it's not worth the risk to try heavy stuff now, because same thing with jiu-jitsu, I can't do jiu-jitsu anymore, and I love that so much. But it's just not worth the risk, because if that cracks, it's like, all right, well, I'll be the fastest person in a wheelchair on the marathon. So still an option, but next. Yep.
Why are you running a solid snake?
Does it look like a... That's it. Also, it was the world record for the number one fastest person as a video game character, and the options that I had were Solid Snake, because I kind of have similar hair to him. Also, I really want to start to smoke a cigarette afterwards, because I would like have a t-shirt where it's like, for cancer research. And then I wanted someone to be like, I want to be like, yeah. And then have someone be like, you what? I thought you're raising money for cancer research. And be like, oh, no, I'm raising money for cancer, not for cancer research. Do something like that. Also, I played Metal Gear Solid when I was like growing up, so there's like a strong connection to like being able to do all that. And I run literally really hot. It's definitely the hardest thing for me. If the weather is raining, I am like Senna. I go so much faster in the rain, just because it's literally like keeping me cool, washing the sweat off the face. Whereas if it was hot, which both the Dublin Marathon and the London Marathon this year were quite warm, it slows me down so much. So with that in mind, I had to be very careful with what kind of video game character I want to go as, because everyone has always suggested, oh, surely you should go as Sonic, you know, he's known for being fast. It's like, yeah, but then I'd have to dress like Sonic and wear a big like Sonic outfit, and that would be really hard to run in. As an example, I went as Skrillex for the Manchester Marathon, and all I had was like a little box like this big. It was just like a shoebox, which weighs, as you can imagine, not very much, and my shoulders were in bits by the end, just because anything in a marathon, if there's a slight problem with it, if there's like a stone in your shoe, very quickly it becomes a massive problem, just because you're at it for like 4 hours. And that was the hardest marathon that I did that year. I think that was it. Yeah, so Solid Snake is a soldier, so therefore the clothes, you can just wear like leggings and a top, and it would be fairly easy from a practical standpoint to do that. The other option is shave off the whole head, wear very little, and go as Kratos from God of War. Yeah. Next.
Is there any tattoos you
I wouldn't get anything that's very obviously going to get a load of people being like, no, we're not going to follow your account. So like no swastikas, that sort of thing. But other than that, huh?
I'd assume that you wouldn't get that.
Yeah, but anything else is absolutely fine. Like on the tattoos where it's the list, it's not point in pulling up the legs, you won't be able to read it. But like someone got not Grangers, Grangers for life. Someone got Glasgow Warriors or Glasgow Rangers. We are the people. So it's like I get any tattoo. I don't particularly care, as long as it's not something that is like, you know, very very racist. But if it's like, you know, potato famine for life or something, like, yeah, fair enough. Go for it. Why not? Yeah.
Why out of everything? Why running? Like the race one?
Oh, just because it's sort of it pairs easy enough with the association. So like, because I had cancer, I knew if I do something physical, it was kind of defy the stereotype. And I had previously done a marathon pretty soon after I left university, I think. I did the Dublin Marathon, and marathons are just like, they're basically all for charity. Very few people actually do marathons just to run them. Like to enter into a marathon, they have like a limit or a number for what you have to actually raise before you actually get a place in there. Exceptions being if you're an elite level athlete and that's your actual thing. So the marathon just made sense. Also the world record thing, I knew because I'd done previous marathons that you could dress as anything you want, anything goofy, and you could have a world record. So I thought, if I'm doing this over social media, it's a unique selling point. It's something entertaining, and we can go from there. I haven't broken the other world records on the way. Like, I wouldn't really count them too much, but on the road to getting fast enough to do a sub-3 marathon, which is very, very hard. I want to be the fastest marathon runner as royalty, and fastest marathon runner as a patient, as an actual hospital patient.
What's your fastest marathon?
My fastest marathon was the London Marathon, which I actually did something called a bandit run, which is where you don't pay for it. Not because I didn't have the money, but just the places fill up so quickly for the London Marathon. I did 3:33, and I remember getting on that one was really funny because I had done the London Triathlon, and so the way that I snuck on was I had my bib, but I had it folded over at the top, and I waited till one of the waves was about to go, and I came in and I had these tracksuit tops on that I never wanted to see again, and I ran up to the start of the line being like, oh my god, I'm so late, please have to go. And they were like, oh yeah, go. And then when I got to the end of the thing, because I didn't have a tag, I was like, hey, can I borrow that medal for a second? There you go. And off I strolled. So yeah.